This is Talk Business and Politics with Roby Brock.
I'm Roby Brock. Welcome to today's edition of Talk Business and Politics Daily. It's Tuesday, December 20th. We appreciate you being there with us. Here are your top stories of the day. Governor Asa Hutchinson laid out his 2017 legislative agenda, at least a part of it, on Tuesday, and he centered on three main areas: economic development, education, and efficiency in state government. The big legislation and changes will center on tax cuts for the military and lower-income Arkansans, as well as $2 million for an accelerator program aimed at startup businesses. In education, Hutchinson wants to change the higher education funding formula to a more results-oriented program. He also plans to expand on his computer coding initiative and wants to direct more money to pre-K and reading programs. As for government efficiency, the governor hopes to streamline 19 boards and commissions, reorganize several state agencies and buildings, relieve the foster care crisis, and reform the state pay plan. Finally, the governor discussed separating the Martin Luther King Jr. and Robert E. Lee holidays, a contentious issue, and he'll be pushing for a highway funding plan, reapproval of Arkansas Works, and sentencing and prison reforms. And those are your top stories for today. You can keep up with all of the latest news on the business and political fronts from our website at talkbusiness.net. Still to come, Frank D. Scott Jr. He's just rolled off the Arkansas Highway Commission. What's that experience like? Plus, David Ray with Americans for Prosperity shares his group's conservative reform agenda for the session. We're back after this.
First Security is here. Only here. So that means we're here, here, and here. Even here. And definitely here. Because here is where we want to be for you. First Security Bank, only in Arkansas.
In 2013, Frank D. Scott Jr. was appointed to fill out a partial term on the Arkansas Highway Commission by then Governor Mike Beebe. He now joins us because you are coming to the end of that term as a highway commissioner.
Less than a couple weeks.
When do you officially roll off?
January 14th is the
As if
last
anybody's
day.
paying attention.
I'm paying attention. I don't know if anybody else is.
What is it like being on the most powerful panel in state government? I mean, there's only 5 of them. They're 10-year terms, although you were filling out a 10-year term, but nobody gets to touch a highway commissioner. Or so they say.
So they say. I definitely, I pay homage to Governor Mike Beebe for seeing something in me to entrust that type of confidence, number one. And then two, as you know, I was one of the youngest highway commissioners to be appointed, and so I kind of brought the age average to around 65. So it's truly a humbling experience and a true blessing for, at such a young age, to hopefully be some type of a demonstration to my generation that we can serve at that capacity. While I didn't think I deserved the appointment, I hope I demonstrated that I earned the right to be there.
Well, I know they've got some big tribute planned for you if they hadn't already done it yet, so I think that's coming.
Well, a few weeks ago, my fellow commissioners gave me a great send-off at Copper Grill, and again, it was just another humbling experience just to kind of have that type of love shown towards me. It's just really great to serve our state.
What's the biggest projects that you worked on you think that'll have the biggest impact? Where do you think you made a difference?
Well, I really, in my heart of hearts, I really think I made a difference as it relates to the I-30 crossing project that's yet to been approved yet. As you know, this past August, we received the 6-lane waiver amendment, and I hope to have, what I've done from that standpoint, along with the other staff members of the highway departments, to bring a community mindset to that project within the confines of engineering and budgeting, and also listening to the community. And as you know, that project has seen several different iterations as a response to listening to the community.
It was a little controversial.
A little?
You had hair before it started.
I had hair before then.
Yeah.
I had a lot of late nights, and I can't tell you how many of my many friends across this community reached out to me in support of it and also against it. And so I was able to listen to them and figure out the best way that I could help influence the highway department. And again, the highway department listened to the community. I haven't seen them done this at this capacity ever before. And so kudos to them for the amount of work of listening to the community as well.
Your replacement will be Philip Taldo of Springdale. What do you know about Philip Taldo?
Philip actually is a good friend. As you may know, he's a commercial real estate magnate in Northwest Arkansas. He's also a very civically engaged citizen. He's going to be really good for the Highway Commission. He also knows that he's not only going to be from Northwest Arkansas, he's going to be an at-large member because he'll be fulfilling that seat as I was an at-large member fulfilling the seat of John Burkhalter. So what that means is we have 4 commissioners that represent each congressional district, and then the at-large member has to look over the entire state as well as the other highway commissioners, but it's really that charge for the at-large commissioner to do that.
That's tougher. That's a whole state.
It's the whole state, and so I think he'll be able to do it.
Will you tie-breaking vote on a few things?
A little bit.
Yeah? All right. You're not going to get out of public service anytime soon.
Public service is part of my character and my fabric and my DNA, so I'm going to always be politically engaged and try to serve wherever I can, whenever I can.
Well, continue to serve as a Talk Business and Politics contributor if you don't mind.
I will.
All right. Thank you, my friend.
Appreciate
and congratulations.
you. Thank you so much.
For you. I'm proud for you.
Thank you.
So, all right. He is Frank D. Scott Jr., former Highway Commissioner. When we come back, a look at manufacturing in Arkansas, and later, David Ray with Americans for Prosperity. What's his group going to be focused on this coming legislative session? We'll find out when we come back.
Each day, the promise of our nation begins again. Arkansas and America, moving forward. I help make that promise a reality. It's not for everyone, but people everywhere depend on us.
Oh, I love you too, sweetie.
Trucking delivers, or everything stops. And that's what drives me.
I did.
Circuits turn on the lights by making a connection, by closing the loop. At Entergy, we believe our economy is circular too. What you put in comes back. So we invest billions in new infrastructure, which helps attract new industry, which helps create new jobs. We partner with local communities to electrify the economy. And together, we power life. Entergy.
Well, what's happening on the manufacturing front in Arkansas? It's quite a bit, actually. Time now to turn our attention to manufacturing news, which we keep up with daily on our website at talkbusiness.net. Our manufacturing microsite is underwritten by Arkansas Manufacturing Solutions. A total of 4,836 workers died from a work-related injury in the U.S. in 2015. That's the highest annual figure since 2008, according to a new report by the Bureau of Labor Statistics. Nearly 20% of fatally injured workers were employed in the private construction industry, while heavy and tractor-trailer truck drivers recorded 745 fatal injuries, the most of any occupation. The U.S. Department of Commerce announced an award of $70 million to the new National Institute for Innovation in Manufacturing Biopharmaceuticals. It's the 11th institute in the Manufacturing USA network. This is the first institute with a focus area proposed by industry and the first funded by the U.S. Department of Commerce. Newport, Arkansas has a certified 100-acre industrial development park, but it's not large enough to attract enough job providers to Jackson County. In order to lure industries to the region, the commission hopes to get a 3,200-acre swath certified by the state in 2017. Newport also hopes to develop an 800-acre intermodal site south of Newport that abuts the White River. And once again, you can keep up with daily news on the manufacturing beat and several other of our industry microsites at talkbusiness.net. After the break, David Ray, State Director for Americans for Prosperity's Arkansas chapter, joins us. Stick around.
Arkansas Electric Cooperative Corporation provides electric energy across 2/3 of Arkansas. This is an exciting time in our energy history, with incredible progress being made in renewable energy and storage technologies. As our energy portfolio continues to diversify, we'll maintain an all-the-above strategy to provide reliable and affordable electricity. Ever since the first light bulbs were placed in our members' homes, the electric cooperatives have been the solutions provider for our members, and we want to continue that well into the future.
So much of what Arkansas state employees do goes unnoticed, yet they have a positive impact on our citizens each and every day. The Arkansas State Employees Association recognizes individuals for excellence in the workplace and leadership in their communities. Congratulations to Deanna O'Malley of Texarkana, the Outstanding State Employee of 2016. We'd like to say thank you to all state employees for all of your hard work and dedication.
And welcome back. I am now joined by David Ray. He is the State Director for Americans for Prosperity's Arkansas chapter. Did you like how I got that title all in there?
You got it right. Thanks for having me, Robbie.
Didn't I? Yeah, good to see you again. I haven't seen you in some time.
It's been a few weeks, yeah.
Let's talk about some things that are on AFP's Arkansas agenda coming up here. The governor put out a $50 million tax cut plan last week. Mm-hmm. You guys applauded that, but said you should also look at some higher income tax cuts, particularly the 6.9% income tax rate. How big of a cut do you think the state can afford, and how do they pay for it?
Well, the governor's proposal is a very good starting point for the 2017 session, and we applaud his commitment to continuing the process of income tax relief here in Arkansas. But we also think it's very important that the legislature build on this plan and strengthen this plan by really addressing the elephant in the room, which is the fact that Arkansas's 6.9% top marginal rate on personal income taxes is simply uncompetitive with our neighboring states. Yep. You've got Texas at 0%, Tennessee at 0%. Every state around us is lower. And look, if the governor decides that there's only $50 million of room for cuts in the budget, which may or may not be the case, we'll have to see how the revenue forecasts shake out. But there's ways to do that in a revenue neutral way. Our state sales tax has 13 pages of carve-outs and exemptions.
Right, exactly.
We could just eliminate a modest amount of those exemptions and drastically reduce the income tax rates in a revenue neutral way. So really taking aim at that top bracket and also enacting some reforms like the ones I just mentioned would go a long way toward improving our state's tax structure.
The governor has stated his ultimate goal, and this may be, obviously, he would need to be reelected to get to this, is a 5% top income tax rate. Is that good enough, do you think, for competitive states when you look at the overall tax structure?
A 5% top income tax rate would make us competitive with a lot of neighboring states. That would put us more in line with Oklahoma, Louisiana, and Missouri, where they are right now. And that's a goal that I share with the governor. The problem is that, and I don't have any objection to cutting income taxes for lower income Arkansans, but the current plan that he's rolled out really doesn't get him any closer to achieving that goal, and we'd like to help him get there.
All right, let's talk about another issue that I know is high on your priority list. You've had a lot of conversations about occupational licensing reform. In Arkansas specifically, are you guys going to come with some specific targets in this next legislative session, or is it a more generic approach to what you want to see done?
You know, a lot of folks don't even know what we're talking about when we talk about occupational licensing.
Go ahead, give me an example.
But Arkansas's occupational licensing laws, according to the Institute for Justice, are the second most burdensome in the entire country. In the 1950s, only 1 out of every 20 professions required a license, or as I like to call it, a permission slip from the government in order to work. Today, that number's up to 25%. 1 out of every 4 Americans needs a license just to earn an honest living. So we really want to pursue kind of a three-pronged approach, taking aim at frivolous and silly licensures like we saw last session with the hair braiding bill, also exempting practices at the fringe of a practice, perhaps like teeth whitening, and then really enacting some broad and sweeping reforms with things like sunrise and sunset provisions that will help us move down from being second most burdensome and allow people to get back to work.
Are you working with some legislators now on some potential legislation that would impact some of that?
I think there's definitely an appetite to address this, and I do think that we'll see several bills filed that relate to this topic.
Right. Will you give us a little tip on that? We'll look for it. So also another big issue with Americans for Prosperity is school choice.
Yeah.
What exactly is school choice? I think everybody knows vouchers and charter schools are part of public school reform. What else does it encompass?
Well, school choice is simply the idea that in order to have a healthy educational ecosystem, you have got to put market forces to work to enact competition. And competition makes us all better. It improves public schools as well as private schools. You know, Arkansas passed really historic legislation in the last session to start with the Succeed Scholarship Program. So we're moving in that direction slowly but surely, and so we definitely want to encourage more school choice legislation in the upcoming legislative session.
What will some of that specifically be? You got specifics on it?
Well, I think it's a little too early to tell what we'll see filed. There's a lot of different avenues that you can take with school choice, but it's a concept that we are very supportive of, and I think that there's appetite in the legislature to address this. And really, at the end of the day, parents should have more flexibility in terms of providing their children with the best education that fits their needs.
I don't have to tell you that there is a supermajority in the House of Representatives and pretty close to a supermajority of Republicans in the state Senate, which would suggest that there are large majorities of conservative elected officials for some of these changes. Is there any excuse for you to not get your AFP agenda done this legislative session, David? I mean, come on, you got all the cards.
Well, look, 2017 does present a historic opportunity for Arkansas to enact pro-free market, pro-economic freedom legislation. That's why we think that the governor's tax plan, for example, is a great start, but we can build on that and strengthen that. And so, you know, just because there are supermajorities of Republicans doesn't necessarily mean that all Republicans are take a pro-free market position when it comes to policy. But we're going to continue what we do, and that's pushing legislators of all political parties in that direction of more economic freedom and more individual liberty.
David Ray with Americans for Prosperity's Arkansas chapter. Thank you so much. Good to see you, man.
Thanks, Roby. Glad to be here.
We'll keep in touch through the session. And thank you for watching. That is all for today's Talk Business and Politics Daily. We'll see you next time.